my friend Alan Olds. Now, Alan, you were the very first person I knew as an adult who was actively training, but wasn't the owner of a dojo or a gym. Um, and you encouraged me to train for years before I actually ever stepped on a mat. So why don't you tell us more about your history, because you've trained in multiple disciplines your entire life.
So it's funny is that I started when I was 8 years old with just a guy in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Shotokan black belt, and we'd be out there in his front yard in the evenings, us and about four other 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and we'd be out there, deep stances and kiai and yelling at each other and striking. And I just it's funny because I just fell in love with it when I was that. And then after that, my best friend, when we were 11, Danny moved away, so we didn't do anything. And then my best friend, he started training with it was Mudaquan Ting Sudo, which eventually turned into the Chuck Norris system in UFAF. And we started doing that when we were 11. My sister used to take us out to train. And it was pretty, just worked out for me.
What hooked you? Because so many kids now training are parent driven, right? The parents are looking for something to increase discipline or keep them active, keep them busy. But it sounds like you really, even at 8, drove your training. So what got you hooked to that extent?
It's like I was telling you earlier, my wife will tell you that it's my first love.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I just loved it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it so much that, I was pretty lucky. My dad, he was like, you know what? We lived in the triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody jokes about grew up in a not. I didn't know.
Right.
It was just what it was. And I had a carport, and my dad set up a heavy bag, a double end bag, and a speed bag out there for me. And we'd train, my buddies, we'd all come over and we would work out in the carport and then go in the backyard and fight.
Wow.
And so before anything was going on, we'd be out there, just fighting in the backyard for fun as kids. I mean, none of us do it now. So I don't really know what drove me to like it. I've always enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. It's funny, like you're doing BJJ.
Right.
Well, I got to wrestle a little bit in high school, and I wasn't very good. I wasn't very good. I was more of the punching, kicking, and that's what I was known.
The striker.
As the striker.
Right.
But I always wanted to do, that, and I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid of the physical contact. And it's funny because after I got my black belt, I actually failed my first time for my black belt test.
Your black belt in karate.
Yes.
And that was your first black belt.
Yes, that was my first one that I was training. We became the Chuck Norris system back then. We were UFAF.
Right. But you trained directly with Chuck.
Only a couple times back then. I trained with Ken Gallagher, who was in Vegas, and Dick Douglas, and some big names. Johnny Natividad, I don't know. I mean, that's a big name. So I was blessed to actually be training with guys that were, we like to say the real deal back then. Because this was the 70s.
Right.
And 80s. And to have such incredible martial artists be able to spend time and train, it was great.
And I think.
But most people failed.
Yeah.
About 80%. There was no pre-test. There was no. You paid your money back. Your money. You went to Los Angeles or Phoenix or somewhere to take your test, and you got 10 black belts up there on the board, and unfortunately, 80% of us would fail.
Wow.
The first time. It was brutal.
How many of those 80% came back?
A lot of people quit. A lot of people would quit.
Because you would think by black belt level, the understanding of, okay, it's a progression, it's a process, this is for life, would be in there. But to have that emotional hit at that final step, Wow.
And see, I wasn't even
How did
going.
you work through it?
I wasn't even going to test.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have tested 4 years before I actually tested
But you didn't
for
feel
my black
ready?
belt. You know what? Those tests back in those days were brutal.
Yeah.
So I wasn't comfortable. And finally, what happened is my instructor, he was like, "Dude, I can't have you teaching black belt classes
Until you.
as not wearing a black belt."
Yeah.
So I felt pressure to
Mhm.
test, and I was like, "Let's go." And you know, back then in those days, you would do the first portion of the test, and if you didn't pass, they weren't nice. They were like, "Sit down.
Yeah.
You're done. You sucked."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there was no going on
Yeah.
to even the next portion.
It's sudden death.
Sudden death.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next portion where you're doing all, because a first degree black belt is a master of the basics.
Right.
So you go through all of that. And then if you don't pass that portion, sit down.
I would think that there may be some of the, you started me on my weakest part, like the rest will be better.
You
Like,
did not
there
mouth
could
off.
be, no, but that internal, I
Yeah.
would think where you're saying 80% don't pass the first test, checking that internal resistance to it, to the sudden death aspect would be important
It was
to
rough
come back.
because there were so many reasons you could fail.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, you know, and you fought.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I didn't. It's funny, I joke about it now, but you know, back in those days, I don't remember going to a karate testing where somebody didn't bleed, cry,
Puke.
puke. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just, or all of the
Or
above.
limp away.
And limp away. And
Yeah.
you know, for me, I was doing really well. I'd fought my 2 fights, and a buddy of mine, we're lifelong friends because
Yeah.
we both failed.
Wow.
And I was, you know, I had grown up doing it, so as he put it, I had a really good combination going on. His face, my hands, my feet, and he hit me really hard.
Uh-huh.
I lost my temper, and I knocked him down. And I made the mistake, as I said, get back up. And I'll never forget it because my instructor was actually sitting on the board with him, and he stood up and he said, "Mr. Olds, take a seat." And I knew I had failed. And you know, it's funny because I had a picture of that, of me, and I was so happy beforehand,
Uh-huh.
but afterwards, I was pretty depressed.
How
And
did you recover?
so back in those days, they could tell you can't retest for a long time. You've got to go another year.
I was going to ask, was there a standard rule, or they
And,
would tell you at the end of the exam what the
They
rule for
told me
you
they
was?
wanted me to retest at the next test, which was 3 months.
Wow.
So I felt gratitude because most of the guys that was actually on that testing board, I had the opportunity, and these were, I'm not gonna I don't want to drop names,
Right, no.
but these were
Well
real
respected.
deal,
Yeah.
well respected, world known martial
Right.
artists.
But beyond that, you obviously had great personal respect for them.
I did.
To be able to take that.
I felt like I
critique.
had let my
Yeah,
instructor, because you know I had trained with half that board personally.
yeah.
And I felt like I had let my young man attitude, because isn't that what's more, karate's not always about the physicality of it.
Yeah.
Karate is, I mean, it's not a team sport,
But you need the team
but
to
you
be
need
able
the
to get
team
there.
to
Yeah.
get there. It's like a community, and I felt like I had let the community
Yeah.
that had invested so much time in me. You know, because I have my certificates all the way from 1st to 8th degree up there.
Mhm.
And so, well, I don't have my A's up there yet, but you know, I had a guy say, "Oh, how much do you have in those certificates?" And he goes, "What do you got? $50,000-$60,000 lined up to get all that training?" And I thought, "Oh my gosh, do people?" So I sat down and I
When you
figured it out.
equate it as just the financial
Yeah,
investment, you'll
I had
never
never-
understand
Right.
the value.
So I had to sit down and go back and see how, and I had like $2,840 in all of that. So I felt blessed.
But for a lifetime?
That's what I mean. For a lifetime, that is nothing. So I felt blessed, you know, because I charge that much in private lessons for some people
Right.
a year.
Right.
So I felt very blessed. And you know, it's funny because I still have friends from 45 years ago
From
that
training.
I've trained with.
One thing that, for me, I notice is a huge difference in those relationships, in those training relationships, is we are willingly being vulnerable in order to allow a training partner
Yep.
to learn how to do significant harm to a human body using our body. And so there's such trust that develops in the learning process, and that mutual respect just has to be there.
It has to be there. I'm sorry, I thought I had turned that off.
It's okay.
And I'm going to.
But understanding that the team is what makes you, just like your buddy who said, your fist in my face. Or,
Yeah.
you know.
And we joke about it because he is the nicest, best dude on the
Uh-huh.
planet, you know?
But
And he's an awesome.
flip it. You would give him the same opportunity to help him train to be better too.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
You know, and like you said, I've been blessed with it because, so, you know, I told you I grappled. Well, I wrestled, and I wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Well, you know, as you know, when I was 21, I became a cop.
Right.
And guess what? As a cop, you can't punch everybody
No.
or kick everybody in the face.
There's a lot of guidelines as far as
There's a lot of guidelines.
escalation of force.
So for 10 years, I actually went 10 years between my first and second degree, but I didn't not train.
Right.
I got into catch wrestling, I got into BJJ, I finished with
diversified.
Shotokan, you know, I diversified to see the multiple things that could go on and how to be a well-rounded
Right.
martial artist.
Right.
You know, I mean, I joke that sometimes we get to the point where we're so diversified that we're a jack of all trades and a master in nothing.
Right.
So I'm of the belief that you need to master something, and then once you've done that, you keep training. First degree black belt is all starting over again.
Right.
You're a baby,
Right.
you're a little fish in a giant ocean. So you need to go out and learn.
Right.
And you know, like I was telling you, I still train with guys that were pro fighters to help me.
Right.
Because I'm not a boxer, I'm a kickboxer.
Right.
So they do things differently. But it's always about learning.
Right. And progressing.
Yes.
We were talking about, because you worked with my ex-husband in law enforcement for a number of years, and that's how we know each other. But you were Arizona Highway Patrol.
Yes.
So what was the entire duration of your law enforcement career?
I had about 26 years total.
26 years. And training throughout that, how do you think that enabled your health? And
Wow.
mental, physical, everything, with the demands of the job, how did training help you be a better officer?
So here's a funny story. I just got notified and had to have a document notarized that I was the one collecting my pension. Yes.
Wow.
Because how long do people die after retirement in law enforcement?
Most within 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
It's almost 70%.
Yeah.
So I had to sign a paper last year
Numerous stories of guys
showing
having a heart attack.
that I am the one actually collecting my pension.
Wow.
So
And you've been retired
5 years.
5 years.
5 and a
Yeah.
half years, yeah.
Yeah.
So my blood work is fantastic. My body weight is really good. My
Yeah.
body percentage, fat, everything. So, I mean, you remember before, 10 years ago, I weighed 215 pounds. But when you're wrestling with people and carrying a gun or chasing, you need that.
You
When
need
you're a little
mass.
guy, you need some mass
Yes.
because you're wrestling, you're chasing big guys, you're chasing little guys.
You need some weight behind your pressure.
Yeah, and you got, I can't lift
Right.
the same weights I could 10 years ago.
Right.
Well, you remember in 2000, I broke my neck.
Right.
So, what it did for me is, even though I never stopped training, I always trained. So I became a National Defensive Tactics instructor, a train the trainer, and my martial arts background helped me with all of that
Right.
to be able to do those other things. But you know, when you're having a really bad day, instead of coming home and taking, like I told you before, sometimes you know your wife. I've been blessed.
Yeah.
I've been with my wife 35 years,
And she's amazing.
and she's still with me. I don't know how that happened. You know, I don't know how that happened. I'm not
35
saying you don't
years,
have
a bunch
rocky
of kids.
points. Yep.
Yeah.
5 kids, bunch of rocky points. But you know, unfortunately, as cops, a lot of the time when we come home, it's like I was saying, your wife is home, and my house, my wife, was my safe place to come home to. That doesn't mean that when you come home from an 8 or 10-hour shift or 12-hour shift, that when you get home, that soft place is for your wife.
Right.
You
she gets
take
that
it,
back.
yeah, you get, your poor wife gets the jerk, the no longer wanting to talk to adults. You know, I would come home and I would just want to vegetate, watch TV.
The frustration with policies and when we were going through infertility.
Yeah, just,
My ex really struggled when pregnant drug abusers came in, insisting on
yeah,
being transported to the methadone clinics and things like that. That was very difficult, and he wouldn't share that with me because he didn't want me to carry that
well,
burden.
that's what I was just going to say. There are some things that you do at work that you don't want to share with your
Right.
family.
But
You
the
just-
stress is still
but
there.
the stress is still there.
And it's
So-
felt by them without the context to understand.
It is. And so my wife was very supportive, and she knew that the martial arts was my release.
Yeah.
So all of my kids redid it.
Uh-huh.
So like this garage, I've had 2 karate schools
Mm-hmm.
where it was set up the same way, where I had 1,600 square feet of mat, and then I had 1,000 square feet of grappling
Right.
area, you know, zebra mats or whatever. So that we did it all. But my kids would come, my wife would come, my kids would come. So we made it a family affair.
Right.
And that's always nice. But as far as in the cop world goes, I think every cop needs to know how to do both.
Right.
Punch and kick and grapple.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't punch and kick your way out of everything. And sometimes you can't grapple your way.
No.
You know, for instance, when we were at the detention center as opposed to the street, I'll give you a for instance. I chased a cowboy into a cowboy bar, and I had to fight my way out of the bar.
Mm-hmm.
What if I'd have wrestled him down, and his brothers were in there,
And everybody's got
and
your
everybody's
back.
well, there's
While you're
yeah.
pinning him
So
down.
he's
Yeah.
they kick you in my face. They kick.
Mhm.
But then again, I also have to know how to wrestle for the one-on-one if I got to take a guy to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he tries to take me to the ground,
Right.
I got to know enough to be able to escape, create distance,
Mhm.
reassess, and then use the tools that are on my belt.
Right. So beyond the skill set necessary for your job, as we're talking about the stress and I guess the consequences to the mental and emotional health of doing the job, how did training help you deal with that in a more healthy way?
So
Because you're not gonna get in
you're
the
not
tussle.
taking it out with your family.
Yeah.
That's the healthy part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, lots of cops, firemen, blah blah blah, that deal with the stress. Ambulance. Unfortunately, we have an extremely high divorce rate
We do.
and a very high suicide rate.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times they'll self-medicate with drugs, alcohol, prescription medications. For me, my self-medication was punching things, wrestling with people, teaching others. It just made it so that I was outside of that community of the cop world.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what a lot of police officers do,
Right.
is they work and then they
Hang out with
surround themselves with the guys with all the same problems as them.
And you're always telling cop
Stupid
stories.
cop jokes.
Work
when
stories.
When I get home, I don't want to talk about cop jokes.
Mhm.
I want to do something else.
Yeah.
And I think that is what has helped me be healthy.
Mhm. Do you think, and hopefully I'll articulate this question well, but in the position of a law enforcement officer, there's generally a lot of conflict between you and whomever you're dealing with, right?
Yeah,
That-
nobody's happy to see us.
Yeah, but you have to remain professional, like you can't let your frustration show necessarily. So being able to train with training partners who aren't the targets of the frustration but help you work the frustration out, do you think that that provided
That's the
help in
advantage
the
of the martial
emotional
arts
control?
community.
Yeah,
Is that it's like I said when I said earlier that I have made lifelong friends that are still friends today.
yeah,
That, you know, unfortunately, fortunately, in the martial arts community, they can sometimes be brutal with each other.
yes,
You know, because if you're working out and training with other guys and you're a jerk, they're gonna let you know you're being
Yep.
a jerk. They let you know right away.
yep.
You know. You
Hi,
wanna sit
Kathy.
down?
Sorry, I'm so sorry. We're filming. That's the only reason.
So, that martial arts community, as far as the law enforcement, so when I was working with your husband, I lived down there, but my family lived here. So I would go to the PD afterwards, and you know, I would have 6, 8, 10 other officers show up, just so I could show them what I've had the advantage of learning.
Right.
So that gave them a chance to train before they went home.
Yeah.
And it's like I tell young officers all the time, when you have that angry moment, go sit in your car. Don't take it out on your wife. Now, do I wish somebody would have told me these things when I was young? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish that somebody would have taken the time to let me know, you know, there's other outlets
Right.
than taking it out on your family.
And I think it's so important for both sides in the dynamic of that relationship to understand that this outlet isn't taking you away from the family, it's bringing you home more healthy.
Well, and if you have your family do it with you, if you
Right.
can get your family involved in it with you, I mean, you know, my wife would get my kids ready, and I dragged them everywhere.
Yeah.
We went county fairs where we did karate demonstrations. We would go to tournaments and take. I mean, my girls, my 3 oldest girls, man, they can fight standing up or on the ground. Doesn't matter, you know. But
And that
what's
is
funny
the
is that-
safest thing you could do for them as a father. Like trying to protect your girls, the safest thing you can do is give them the skills and the confidence to know how to be aware and protect themselves.
So here's a note that I didn't know that opened my eyes up, and I want to be politically correct on this. Sometimes, as men, we don't actually get to see the trials that women have placed before them until you have children of your own that are girls. And the first experience of that for me was we went to a huge tournament. My girls are already there to fight, to do it. They're pumped. 4 hours later, my girls are still dressed, still pumped, haven't even been called yet.
Wow.
Because all the boys got to go first.
Yep.
And then my daughter, who's 10, has to fight 13 to 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's 1,000 trophies sitting up there. You can't make it smaller, and she can fight someone her own. I mean, she got a 3rd place in her first tournament, but she waited 4.5 hours
At
to
10.
fight girls twice her size. And I'm thinking, wow, I couldn't believe it.
Doesn't it put the expression "fight like a girl" in a different format for you?
I used to always say cowboy up.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, fight like a girl, except I know girls that can hurt you.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's it. But the reason I had my girls learn to fight standing up and on the ground, so as I was telling you earlier, I have my students that I train for a little bit, and then I always like them to go and do BJJ, at least a year.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, in the cop world, I saw lots of people who were attacked, and women are always, if
More vulnerable.
they're more vulnerable, they're smaller, the guy is always going to try and take them to the ground. So
I used to say that to my ex-husband because he was very concerned about my firearm proficiency. And I said, that's great, but you will see something coming. I mean, he's 6 foot.
yeah,
He's a big guy.
big guy, yeah.
Like, he's going to see something coming. Nobody's going to come up from behind and try to grab him by the hair and drag
No,
him.
but they are a
But
woman.
a woman, they are. And I said, it's great for me to be trained in a physical weapon, but the reality of my ability to access it is very different from yours. And
Where are you going to carry it?
where am I
Your
going to carry it?
purse,
But 2, do I want to introduce that weapon
to
into
be taken
that
away
situation?
from you, to be used on you.
Right, and I always said I need to learn how to get away, and I need to be confident that I'm not going to panic and shut down, because having the weapon isn't going to change anything if the nature of the way that I'm attacked doesn't allow me to use it.
So, like when we were talking about this before, that's the issue that I have with the self-defense.
Right, like the
We
1 hour
teach-
course.
Yep, we
once-
teach these people all the time, oh, I'm going to a self-defense, self-defense. You need to learn how to fight, not be
Right.
defensive. You need to learn how to fight, not be defensive. Because when you spend that entire time being defensive, eventually something's going to... It's not like the movies.
Right,
Eventually
yeah.
you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
And when you're the smaller, because I've always been the smaller, when you're the smaller, the lighter, you're, you just have the disadvantage.
Let me ask
So
you
what's your
this.
greatest weapon? That's right, your
Mind.
brain. So this is where the martial arts comes in, is that we have to train people that fighting is like a chess game. And you need to be 3 moves ahead.
Right.
And you play your game. You don't play their game, you play their game. When you continually think of self-defense, you're training women, like I was telling you, I had a young girl the other night.
To react and
Well, she's talking about, I'm going to hurt him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, at some point, crazy mom has to come out or something so that you are willing to do the fight. You're in a fight, so fight. Don't hold back.
Yeah.
But what we do in society, religious or not, what we do in society, and I notice this now, and Kathy actually brought this up to me, is that we train our girls, I had never thought of it this way, but we train our girls to always be nice.
Yes.
We train our girls
Polite. Yes.
So,
And be understanding of
Yes.
men's nature. Teach
Oh.
them how to be nice to
yes,
you.
yes, teach them to be nice to you. Teach them, oh, he keeps asking you out. He keeps asking
Be
you out.
polite.
Be polite. No. I taught my girls. No, you just say no.
And
well,
you don't
why
have
not?
to have a good reason. If
don't
I
have
don't
reason.
feel it, if I don't feel good
JDLR
about it,
just doesn't feel right.
yeah.
No. Look right. Look, JDLR. Just,
Yeah, it
you
just
know,
doesn't look
I
right.
miss my acronyms.
But that's so important to really teach them to recognize those energies.
To recognize danger. So, if you're religious, people want to say it's the spirit talking to you. So I do a lot of self-defenses. I hate that word. I do a lot of short classes to teach them. But when I do this, I actually bring a whiteboard, and I have an entire list of things that we're going, and it goes all the way from awareness to finally to the attack. And then the end is always go get training. And for women, whether it's punching, kicking, Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu, train hard, train like your life might depend on it. So it does. And what's going to happen is eventually women find that they love it.
Yeah.
And they make it a lifelong sport. And they become comfortable in it. And that's where we actually need to do with girls. That's what we need to do
I
with
agree.
girls. But we're back into society again where real women are being attacked.
Yes.
When men can be better at being a woman than women, there's a problem.
I think that any woman who
Oh, I said that.
who says that she's
Sorry, I said that on camera.
that's okay.
Okay.
I think that any woman who says that she's never had a scary, at the very least, scary physical encounter with a man is lying.
My wife's 5 foot tall. Everybody's bigger than her.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
but any woman who says that I've never felt like, ugh,
So
and how do I just be nice enough to get out of this?
You don't be
and
nice.
put up with it. But
I didn't teach my
You
girls
can't
to
be
be
nice
nice.
enough.
Yeah,
No, but you know
can't
what
be
I
nice.
mean?
Like, nothing's gonna matter.
I agree, but I'm just saying that there's that women go through that, and if we're not honest about that and say we need to change the conversation, for me, as I've trained, I've noticed that the nature of my situational awareness has changed.
Yeah, it's gone up.
so-
You're paying attention to
Yeah.
what's going on.
No, I know women who jump at every shadow,
Oh yes.
are nervous of everything,
Yes.
but are also unwilling to train.
Which makes no sense.
Which makes no sense.
Makes no
but
sense.
as I've trained, that what is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is being replaced by confidence and an understanding of, okay, let me feel the situation.
So think about it. When somebody is going to attack their victim,
The
How-
jumpy one is the victim.
yes, because they choose them
Mm-hmm.
in a split second.
Yeah.
The confident, the ready, keys in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
going to throw down. I mean, my daughters, sometimes they get overly aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a for instance. I don't know if you can ever be overly aggressive when you're about to be attacked.
Right.
Well, we're laying in bed
Uh-huh.
talking to my daughter who's halfway across the world, well, literally in Australia,
Uh-huh.
walking home. Kathy and I were talking with her, and she goes, "Oh, this person is zoning in on me." And we sometimes want to say it's the spirit or whatever. It's instinct,
It is.
okay? But we have trained women to beat this instinct down.
Yes.
Your survival instinct is kicking in for a reason.
Yeah.
You need to react to it.
Yeah.
So while we're listening to my daughter Shannon, I said, "Shannon, put the phone down
And handle this.
and be ready."
Uh-huh.
And next thing you know, we're 8,000 miles away listening to my daughter in a fist fight.
Wow.
F-bombs being drawn, kicked, whatever. Next thing I know, she's on the phone and she's still, but she's still in fight mode, right? But
Yeah.
she's walking home from work,
Yeah.
halfway across the planet, nothing we can do.
Yeah.
But what did the advantage of growing up? Punching, kicking, wrestling, grappling, choking. For us, we didn't choke each other.
Right.
Frontal chokes.
Right.
That was our deal. Choking is not allowed. Punching, kicking,
Yep.
regular, that's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's our fun.
Yeah. It's playing around.
That's playing around. We don't do other things, but that still doesn't mean you don't learn those.
Right.
But she was mentally prepared. That's why I said your
Mhm.
greatest tool is your brain. She was mentally prepared. It took her a second to put the phone away and realize that this person is coming straight at her. Kathy and I, when we were upset, we're listening on the phone.
But weren't you so thankful to know
Yeah.
the training she had on board instead of go, oh Lord, why didn't I get her in
Yeah.
training?
I mean, she just didn't say, "Oh, there's somebody weird over there."
Yeah.
She said,
Yeah, she was like,
Something
this
that
one
She
has
knew.
zoned in on
She
me.
knew. So let me ask you, because this goes hand in hand with that, and it's important for people to understand. Your experience in law enforcement, you've been in real fights,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately. Your daughter was in a real fight.
Yep.
You cannot simulate that in a training room, that
So-
level.
so
but
you
how close
can't.
can you get?
So this is what I was talking about the survival boxing I like to do,
Mhm.
is you're trapped. You're on the
Right.
ground. We hit you about 80%, and it gives women an opportunity to be hit and hit back in a safe environment to feel that adrenaline dump.
Mhm.
Because even pro fighters are going to tell you that first initial getting
Huge.
into the ring, the closer you can ever get to real fighting is when you step into the ring
Mhm.
in front of 10,000 other people screaming,
Yeah.
and it's, I knock you out before you knock me out.
There's he's ranked number 5, light heavyweight Anthony Smith, had a home invasion, an intruder in his home, and watching the interviews of him discussing that fight
He had adrenaline dump.
versus all of his professional fights.
Mhm.
But what was interesting in watching that interview is he said, these were the things running through my mind, what I
Mhm.
needed to mitigate. And listening to it, I thought, damn, I don't even know that I'd have the presence to think of all those things. But his experience allowed his mind to engage in a different way during that fight.
So this is how I looked at it. So I've been training cops since 1994. And when we're sitting in that car or we're talking about it, we're running through scenarios
Right.
that I have experience with. Because as a brand new officer or brand new fighter,
Right.
you don't have those. This is the advantage of a good, because, yeah, I'm going to say this. There is no such thing as the best martial arts.
Mm-mm.
It's not. There's better instructors.
Right.
That's what matters. When the instructor is willing to put your training and your advancement to make you a better person above the cost of whatever they're charging or whatever their needs are, when they're willing to put your needs above it, that's the instructor you want to be with.
Yes.
So, as a cop, your job is to teach the baby cop how to be a cop properly.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get to see everything in 6 months at the academy or a year.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 years on, you're a real cop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's going on.
Right.
You see what's going on. You can read people, but you don't have those tools.
Mm-hmm.
But by training in the martial arts, you get to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand why you get to feel?
You can
'Cause-
represent as close to a fight and
As you-
test your
right.
instincts.
Because
And
it's
retrain
body
your
on body.
instincts.
It's
Yep.
person against person.
Yeah.
It's not like where you go out as you have a team of people,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a team sport.
Mm-mm.
This is an individual sport. And so
And yet
as
you need the team to succeed.
yeah, except you need the team to
Mhm.
succeed, and that's why you have a good martial arts community to be
Yeah.
with. Like I don't grapple anymore
Right.
because I got broke neck, broke back, broke back,
Mhm.
broke neck, broke back,
Joints.
rods,
Right.
cage in my neck, rods in my back. I can't rotate my hips. I
Mhm.
still love to roll,
Right.
but I only roll with guys that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know they're not cranking on me, they're not hurting me, or I lose feeling in my hands for
And-
weeks.
And I think that that's very important to point out is your instructors, when you're a beginner, what I've observed is a lot of times the compensation for lack of information
Mhm.
is aggression.
Aggression, overpowering strength,
Right.
where strength is not strength.
And
Speed
you-
and technique
yeah.
makes power.
But your instructors are taking the bigger risk because you're the most unpredictable person at that point.
Yeah, I hate grappling with blue belts.
Yeah.
You know, or
Because
young
they know enough to be
because
really
they know
dangerous.
enough to be dangerous, but they want to win.
Mm-hmm.
Where I mean, I want to win,
And they want
but
to
as an
step up
instructor,
to the
I don't have-
challenge
right.
of someone of
but
your
I don't have to
caliber.
win anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I mean? As a
Mhm.
good instructor, you don't have to win anymore.
Right.
You want to train. And so that's what I like is that I like to be able to, I want to pass on the knowledge.
Yes.
I don't have to beat her up anymore.
Right.
I mean, those days are over.
Right.
I just want to have fun, train, do whatever. But it's like, so kickboxing, your eyes are open. You
Mhm.
see, your body moves. You have drills, train drills. I can be in total darkness grappling with somebody
Mm-hmm.
because you feel.
Feel.
It's feel. You get to the point where you feel.
Yeah.
This move leads into this move. This
Right.
move leads into, if he does this, I do this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pressure. So that's why I'm the proponent, the big guy that says, I'm not a big guy, but I'm the guy that says you learn to use your hands
Mhm.
and feet, all your weapons, but you must grapple too.
Yes.
Whether it's BJJ, catch wrestling,
Something.
something, so that
Mhm.
you get the feel of that. Because as smaller people or bigger guys, they don't really get the big people don't really get the feeling of it. Like later today, I'm gonna introduce you to
Mhm.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron is a huge dude, and you know, I'm not grappling with Aaron.
No.
No, he would destroy me.
Right.
Not only is he twice my size, twice as strong as me, the BJJ black belt, but he also does, Tang Soo Do like I do.
Yeah.
So he's well rounded.
Right.
And his size doesn't mean I don't know as much as him.
Right.
It means when we get that physicality together, same knowledge, same skill level,
Yeah.
same training, same fitness level, his 75 pounds
Huge.
is a huge difference of
Uh-huh.
squishing me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's so important to address too, though, with your health issues from not just a lifetime of martial arts, but really a lifetime in law enforcement
Yeah.
too. But the variety in which you have trained, you always have an option.
I believe
Right,
that
to
I'm
continue
always
training.
a white belt.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got promoted to 8th, which is pretty high.
Yeah.
But I look at it as I'm a white belt,
Right.
always.
Right.
Even though I have a black belt, I just started over again.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that if we looked at life like that,
Right.
where we're always learning something, we're always taking away knowledge with us,
Mm-hmm.
we'd just be better off.
I noticed the way that, like, and you can see the progression of the way that at different levels they start to analyze and ask more questions. And the funny thing to me is I see higher belts typically asking a lot more questions than I do, because I don't have a point of reference from which to know to ask a question. And so I love training in that environment and seeing the humble willingness to learn.
What happens is that when you get your black belt,
Mm-hmm.
you realize how little you know.
Mm-hmm.
You
I've
know,
heard
so
that.
like a first degree black belt is a master of the basics.
Yeah.
Second degree black belt, you're learning fluidity. One move rolls to another move, striking at the same time. Third, you're striking and blocking all at the same time. Everything is tied together.
Right.
Fourth degree, you're implementing. In third to fourth, you're implementing things. You're
Right.
making things up. You're also, but this entire time, you should be instructing, because
Right.
who turns out the best ones? The guys spending the time to teach others.
Mm-hmm.
Always turn out
Yeah.
to be the best.
Yeah.
Because you run into, when you're dealing with people that know nothing and people that know something, you have so much of a variety,
Mm-hmm.
and your willingness to ask questions,
Yeah.
just that's the difference between when you first start, you don't want to embarrass anybody, especially yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the time you get to a higher rank, you've been embarrassed so many times.
It doesn't
It doesn't matter
anymore.
anymore. You're here to learn.
Right. And those embarrassments were just part of learning. It wasn't really an embarrassment. It was just part of the development
Yeah.
most of the time. But
And you can't succeed without filming sometimes.
No. But did you find, like, when you broke your back, your neck, your knee, that for me, training BJJ and being able to start training from my back because of my back issues was this hands down the safest way I could have
Yep.
trained. If I, even right now, I can't do stand up too much because it aggravates too many things. But were you able to shift between different striking disciplines and grappling disciplines in order to continue training through that adversity?
So I know my body.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, the thing that bothers me is I can't pivot my hips. I can't
Okay.
rotate my hips, and I can't have my neck cranked on.
Right.
But I mean, I've had my bicep reattached.
Mm-hmm.
You work through. By the time you get high enough in rank and
Mhm.
doing it long enough, we all have injuries.
Right.
So you just learn to adapt.
Yeah.
Because I say I don't roll. Does that mean I don't roll?
Right.
No, I still roll.
Right.
But I choose who I roll with
Carefully.
carefully,
Mhm.
because I roll with guys who I know
Mhm.
aren't going to hurt me.
Mhm.
And there's none of the macho, you have to beat me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't get offended if I slip a choke in or I get a
Mhm.
hold of an arm, because like I was explaining to you earlier, I'm of the mindset that if you give me an arm, that's what I'm attacking.
That's what I'll
If you
learn.
give me a leg, that's what I'm attacking. It's whatever you give me,
Mhm.
that's what I don't have to work mine. It's whatever you want to give me, I'll take that.
Yeah.
The punching and kicking, I train with guys that are amazing
Mhm.
punching kickers. Where you get hurt is the white belt, blue belt, trying to get, because I'm trying to teach without hurting them.
Uh-huh.
And, next thing you know, they're swinging full out or going
Yeah.
crazy. You're like, hey, dude, chill, man.
Yeah.
We're trained. So that's something to think about. So you roll. What's the difference between sparring and fighting?
I don't do stand up, but my observation in that is sparring is making contact without necessarily the full force.
So sparring is I train you, you train me. We
Mhm.
work together as training partners
Okay.
to make each other better.
Get the full feedback.
Fighting is, I win before you win.
Right.
Whatever it takes,
Okay.
I win before you win. So when you're sparring, you're actually just training.
Mhm.
You're training, right?
Mhm.
And if I can help you make your technique better, you can help me make my technique better, that's
Yeah.
sparring.
Which
But
I think
people
that's
need
why
to know the
the community
difference.
is important, because you can't get better without somebody giving you the feedback.
Yep.
You know, a quarter inch does not seem like a lot,
To your hip.
but well, right. But in BJJ, a quarter inch is the difference between I'm fine,
And your
And-
arm being locked out or
Yeah.
choked out or
yeah,
your shoulder.
yeah,
you know,
and done.
done.
And learning the micro adjustments, that can't happen without somebody telling you.
I used to train with a guy who was, when I was overseas, he was the state champ
Mhm.
and amazing fitness martial artist, right?
Yeah.
When we would grapple and roll, he was always about to win. He didn't know when to tap.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, "Oh, did I get out of that?" "No, you dummy. I didn't want to break your arm.
I'm
I
bad
tapped
about
for
that.
you. I
Yeah.
tapped for you."
Yeah.
"Oh, did I get out?" "No, I didn't want to choke you unconscious."
Mhm.
You know, so that's where a good training partner,
Mhm.
so you can work better.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to run across those guys that
We'll take it.
will take it. Well, you
Yeah.
know what, dude, you got 3 little kids. You got to go to
Yeah.
work. If I break your arm, you're being stupid.
Yeah. And
Tap, roll again.
that's been because I'm smaller, and my life prior to training, I always felt physically weaker than most of the people I was around. So then I try to compensate with determination,
Yeah.
and I get hurt, or I get training partners going, "You don't have to do that." And
So are you sparring and training, or are you fighting?
I wasn't recognizing the difference.
You need to be able to recognize the difference.
And I've now, because they're stopping me and they're saying, "Hey, recognize this."
You don't got to get your arm broken
Yeah.
or your knee locked.
Yeah, and you don't need to do that to me
Right.
to train well. But now I'll say, "Hey, I know you have it, but I want to feel the progression slowly and carefully,
Mhm.
so I know where my response points are, and I'm learning where to tap in a healthy manner for myself."
Yes.
And that shifts the dynamic entirely from them going, "You need to pay attention here," to, "Okay, great, I'm going to help you pay attention now."
Mhm.
And
And that's a good training partner.
yeah, and I've really, really appreciated the training partners and my coaches who have said, "Hey, listen, tap is a healthy option.
Mhm.
It's not a quit.
This is training.
This is training." Yeah.
It's training.
Yeah.
So how would you relate that? Look at me asking the questions. How would you relate that, the intellect, to know when to tap and not
To life.
to life?
On one hand, the way that I view it is, if you tap, the pressure immediately releases,
Yep.
right? So with my children and in the relationships that matter to me, do I have to punish them beyond tap?
Right.
Do I have to just grind it? No.
No.
Because when someone does that to me, or when that happens
How's that
on the
make you?
mat,
It's terrible, right?
that creates
There's injury, resentment.
a
everything.
huge negative series of events. And so the way that I relate it to life is, do I allow people to tap and reset? And am I utilizing that too? Am I willing to go to someone and say, "Hey, you're right, I was wrong,"
Yeah.
or "You're right, can you teach that to me better?"
So
I
look at
can
that life
understand.
skill from just sparring.
Tremendous. It's
From
tremendous.
just that you learn. So that's what I mean. So earlier you asked me how has it made it so that I can live a fit lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to work 30 years and die in 5. and then everybody else gets my
Yeah.
retirement benefits. But me, I don't even
You don't get
do
to
it. I
enjoy
don't
the
get to
fruits of
enjoy
your
it.
labor.
Right. So, how about instead of doing things, and I'm not knocking drinking, smoking, whatever you want to do as an
Mhm.
adult, but in the stress world, those aren't good outlets.
They add to.
They add to the stress. They
Oh,
add to
yeah.
the
Unfortunate.
bad health.
Yes.
They
And
add-
addiction to those things
Mhm.
is life destroying.
So, if I was to be talking to a young cop or a young person who's starting out in life, the first thing I would say is fitness is super important.
Mhm.
Because once you're not stressed, fitness, diet, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, find something other than your job
Right.
that you like, whether it's softball, basketball. For me, it was karate, it was grappling, it was jujitsu. That's what saved my life. That.
I think for me, like, why is it that sports pushes us so hard and helps us learn these lessons so hard? But you watch a fight, you watch a game, it is a lifetime condensed into a very short window that we can
3 to
observe.
15 minutes,
Yeah,
you know, on.
and we can observe and learn from.
Mm-hmm.
Even a couple hour football game, you can learn a lot. And I love seeing underdogs overcome. Like the give and take, and I think that that's why sports gives us an opportunity for such tremendous personal growth,
Mm-hmm.
is because over and over and over again it puts us in those short lifetimes.
So I got a piece with like the MMA version of it, a beef.
Okay.
So a beef is for me is that I see like when the house first came out and they're all living in,
Mm-hmm.
they're dropping f-bombs, they're
Yeah.
fighting, they're drinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know a lot of pro fighters.
Mm-hmm.
None of them do
Mm-mm.
that.
Mm-mm.
None of them are living that way.
If
None of
they
them
are, they're
acting
not
that
making
way.
it that
And
far.
if they are, they aren't making it that
No.
far. These guys are so devoted
Yeah.
and strict and whatever. But you know, I understand that it's a salesmanship
Mm-hmm.
when they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, we see young men seeing this as that's the
The
salesmanship,
ideal.
and that when they go to a dojo, a dojang, or
They
Like-
act out.
they'll act out. And they'll be like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm the only one here acting a fool."
Yeah.
And they get to see. So then you see other fighters, you know, and I understand that sometimes they're doing things to get each other, but the ones that I enjoy are the ones that are like, yeah, when we're in the ring, I'm going to knock you, I'm going to beat you
Yeah, I'm
like
coming
a
to-
dog.
yeah.
I'm coming to win. But afterwards, you know what? I can respect you. You're a family man.
Right.
You have children.
Right.
You're good in the community.
Mm-hmm.
You're this. You know what? I don't have to kill you
Right.
to be a winner.
Right.
And, you know, maybe you are setting a good example too.
Mm-hmm.
And if we looked at that in society as martial artists of how we're supposed to treat others, the example we're supposed to set
Mhm.
forth, I think, if we ran like you roll,
Right.
if people treated each other like we do at the dojo in real life, or the
Mhm.
life would be would be a good country.
There's so much accountability without malice
Yep.
that is expected, and that is tremendous. And you know, we talked about I work with UFC quite a bit, and I work with a lot of fighters. And when MMA first came out, everything like
Yep.
human dog fighting, human
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But that is shifting, and I am noticing so much intelligence and depth of knowledge.
Yep.
And listen, some
Smart
of these
people are fun to
smart people, but some of them didn't graduate high school.
Well,
Don't- but-
degrees doesn't mean.
No, but their
You're smart.
pursuit of this sport
Mm-hmm.
has caused it. Like you said, my coach Fredson, he said doing jujitsu made me want to learn chess. He's a great chess player.
Yeah.
You know, they're pursuing the discipline from the gym is causing them to pursue
Other outlets.
knowledge,
Other
and
knowledge.
discipline everywhere. And I love
So they're
that
a
this is a
continued.
sport
They're a
that does
continued
that.
student.
Yeah,
Right?
always.
Always. So that's it, and that's what I meant by a chess game. It's grappling, fighting. It's like chess.
Yeah.
You're 3 moves ahead.
Yeah.
They do this, you do that. You do this, they do that. You know, and
But the training
But-
creates the discipline to remove the ego.
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, to get rid of ego.
Don't we have to redo that one so many
Yeah.
times?
Wow. You know,
And sometimes ego, on my part, was, I'm the helpless victim, don't be mean.
hmm
And I've had training partners saying, I'm not being mean,
yeah,
I'm pushing,
pushing. We're just training.
but that's not mean. And learning how to take the emotional response to that out of the equation,
So not only
So
are you learning
free.
physical,
mental,
but mental, emotional.
tremendous amount.
And you know, I wish. So you know, I'm a Chuck Norris fan.
I think we all are.
Yeah, because I've had the opportunity to meet him
Right.
and train with him.
And not just the
And work
image,
out.
but the
Not the
true
image, but
who he
really.
is. Yeah.
And you know what? We need guys that it matters for you to. It matters to them that you succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm gonna think about how it would be if they had a program they were trying to do called Kick Drugs Out of America, where they were actually teaching it to high school level. So in other countries, if you don't want to do PE, you can do jujitsu,
Yeah.
or you can do karate.
Which
And
is amazing.
you know, you graduate high school, you're almost a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're training physical,
Mm-hmm.
all the things you learn from it, right? Instead of just running the track,
Right.
or you know,
I met a world champion ballroom dancer. He's from Australia.
mhm.
And he said in Australia, they
You get
still
to do
teach
multiple
ballroom
things,
dancing.
yes.
But he said they teach ballroom dancing because it also helps them navigate male-female dynamics in a much better way. And it's just very fascinating talking
Yeah.
to him about various disciplines and how that giving the variety to students allows them to fall into the path that suits their learning style.
So some states require you to be a school teacher before you can teach phys ed,
Uh-huh.
or
Uh-huh.
in the
Gym.
states. But just because you have a degree doesn't mean you can teach something. Doesn't just because you're good at something doesn't mean you can teach something. And you got to be able to recognize that. Back to that instructor thing, is it a person whose goal is to make the student better than me? My goal when I had a young man pass his black belt test last
Uh-huh.
December. 5 years with this kid, right? And he took a beating. It was good. Natural athlete, wrestler, blah blah blah. Amazing, right?
Mhm.
When you get to see somebody make it to that far
Yeah.
and finally complete something, it's just huge as the
Yeah.
instructor to be able to feel that accomplishment. But where I wanted to go with that is my goal isn't to, as me as an instructor, so as Alan Olds as an instructor, my goal isn't to make you a little robot of Alan Olds.
Right.
My goal is to make you better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's where you get the good instructors, when they're willing to work whatever and make the sacrifice so that you are as good as or better than me. That's what makes it a good one. Not the system,
Right.
not the style. It's the instructor that's willing to put you above them
And the time in.
and the time in. And unfortunately, you know, 5 years is a long time. I mean, I see guys get black belts in, I don't understand this, and I'm not knocking anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but I see guys get black belts in 18 months,
Oh.
2 years.
Oh.
Dude, when we were doing it, it was 5-7 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I get it, you know, you can get a college degree in 4 years. You can be a good black belt in 4 years if you're athletic, you train a couple days a week,
Yeah.
you're training on your own, you're physical, you're intelligent. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
A lot of us, it takes a little while longer,
Right.
you know,
To dial it all
dial it
in.
all in. Sometimes it takes us a little bit longer.
So what do you look for in a student? Like as you're watching a student, where's that point for you? Because I know you want to help them all succeed, but there's also a point when you're like, all right, let me break out everything I got because
So-
this one's ready to learn.
For me, I'm at an advantage.
Mhm.
I don't have to do this for a living anymore.
Right.
I'm not a babysitter.
Right.
I'm not a babysitter.
You're not an after-school
Nope.
program.
If they don't want to be here,
They
I don't
have
want them here.
Mm-hmm.
I want the kid who wants to be here
Yeah.
For himself, not because his parents are making it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were saying earlier, I'm at the advantage of if the kid can't pay for it, I can work it out
Mm-hmm.
another way. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I don't have to make a living or pay for a place.
But that's also the development in the arts because it gives you the passion to share.
Yeah, I just
Share that.
want to share now at this
Mhm.
point in my life. I can't do. There's a lot of stuff I can't do physically anymore.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean I don't know. It doesn't look like it used to when I was younger.
Mhm.
It looked like
Mhm.
karate. Now it kind of just looks like, ugh. I don't know
Mhm.
what that was, but I can still train young
And you
people
can
or
still
adults.
see and correct.
Yeah, and I have them throwing, amazing kicks. I'm puncher kicker,
Uh-huh.
and they're throwing amazing kicks, punches, blah blah blah. But that's the goal,
Yeah.
right? And doesn't mean I have to be able to do it anymore.
Yeah.
With where I'm at, but I still try to stay fit. I still try to teach. I still try to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I train every day. Except
Mhm.
I don't train on Sundays unless my buddy calls me up. He
Mhm.
likes to train on Sundays, so that's his Sabbath. So he'll train
Uh-huh.
on Sundays. So I'll go and train with him once in a while. But I literally, I've had private lessons this morning. I have private lessons during the week. I do a couple women's classes, and I go to a couple places and teach what I teach.
Yeah.
But like some of the places that I go and I teach, they recognize that I'm better at certain things than they are. So they have
Mhm.
me come in. I teach this portion. I don't teach what they teach. I teach what I'm good at.
But that takes humility on both parts to respect that relationship and say, hey,
Yeah, and I'm not
we're
going
going to
to,
get the best instructor possible for our students.
and I'm
who
not
can
going
see
to
those
steal
things.
students.
No.
I'm
yeah.
not there to steal students.
Yeah. No.
Because I get parents all the time. They'll say, "Oh, do you still teach?"
Mm-mm.
No, I don't.
Mm-mm. Yeah, this is your school.
This is where I teach at.
Yeah.
I'm not here to steal
No.
students. I'm here to, as a martial arts community.
My impression is that the bulk of the community is very respectful of that as far as will be your place if you're from out of town or but not like gym hopping as
Uh-huh.
as a lifestyle just doesn't seem to really work out too well for too many.
So it makes me sad right now at this point because I have
Does that make sense?
been able to go around multiple places and I'm welcomed
Mm-hmm.
because once they go in and find out a little bit, I'm welcomed.
Right.
Uh,
But you're respectful.
And, yeah, right. I'm not there to steal students. I'm not there
Right.
to attack anybody or say,
Or to-
what you're teaching is crap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there just, let's train.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I see when sometimes instructors will see other gym owners as a threat to their
Yeah.
income. And that makes me sad.
Yeah.
Because I would like to, because not everybody's going to do jujitsu. Not everybody's going to do aikido. Not everybody's
Mhm.
going to do karate. Not everybody's going to do, you understand? Everybody, the student is going to find,
And
what
each
they're in
discipline
action.
seems to build on each other no matter what.
to me, it
yeah,
does.
I
Some
see
people look at
corollaries.
it like, no, you got to do everything in this. Well, you know what? You don't own that student.
Mhm.
Let's think about what might be best for him or
Mhm.
her.
Mhm.
And, punching and kicking is great. I love it. But remember what I said. I think all women need to learn jujitsu.
Yeah.
At some point, you need to do a year, 2 years of jujitsu
Mhm.
to be comfortable rolling around on the ground because
Mhm.
you're smaller. Do I think everybody needs to do that? Personally, yes.
I-
That doesn't mean I'm right.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm right. Right?
I am a big doing it and competition for me. I had one competition and then I got hurt again, and not on the mats.
Mhm.
So I haven't competed yet, but just that your training partners are your friends.
Yeah,
You
I
like
think
each
everybody
other.
should compete.
But that competition is the closest thing to someone coming at you with bad intentions.
So that's Alan Olds' personal. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that everybody has to do that, but I
even,
think
even once to get that
I think
experience and
everybody
test your
needs
reactions
to
it.
compete
Yeah.
because they're going to feel that adrenaline
Mhm.
dump. It's not a safe environment because sometimes you go and you get some jerk that's
Yeah.
going to knock you out.
My very first match in competition, she mounted me, and then was just holding my head into her chest so
Suffocating
tight,
you.
suffocating me into the chest.
Okay.
And I had fingerprint bruises on
Yep.
my ears, back of my head, everything. And I started to panic. And
No air, no attitude.
right, and I was like pushing knees, pushing hips, and I couldn't get anywhere. And I had to kind of take it, like I was about to tap out of panic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to think, why aren't you attacking the weapon she's using against you?
What she's giving you, use it. Yep.
And I drove my knuckles
Mhm.
right into her chest.
Yep. Create
Legal,
space.
created
Absolutely
space.
legal.
Took that breath and I went, I'm all right.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't had so many roles where I'd experienced the loss of breath, the full contact, the fear,
Mm-hmm.
that when what I was doing wasn't working, I was able to make a decision. No, you don't get to use a weapon against me that I won't defend. I can counterattack
counter.
that same weapon. And if you've never been in that situation,
And how did that empower you, though?
tremendously.
Tremendously, right?
Tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I say, you've got to be in safer, uncomfortable situations to begin to train your mind to go through it properly and to find that survival point instead of that panic point.
So
Is that?
when Luke tested for his black belt, I don't test you by yourself.
Right.
I have 3 or 4 other black belts come.
Mm-hmm.
We put pressure on you. His parents are there, his friends are there, and he goes through everything. And then he gets to the end, and this is just a thing that I've learned in the past. I like you to fight one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
another one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
then you grapple for 2 minutes, and then we put your pads back on. You fight 2 against 1,
Wow.
twice,
Mm-hmm.
and then we jump in there, and you earn it.
Yeah.
You're earning it. Because you know, after you've sparred twice and then you grapple for 2 minutes,
It's
then you
exhausting.
spar again against multiple.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're fighting guys that, you know, I'm the one guy who came and helped test. He's got 90 fights. And we're hitting, you know,
Yeah.
he's a kid. He's 17 years old.
But that's so much knowledge and experience.
But look, yeah, and he I'm not saying he suffered through it because he gave as good as he got.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was ready. He
Yeah.
was ready. So for me, when I give a kid a black belt or an adult a black belt, it's so that they can go to any other school wearing a black belt and everybody's going to know that guy's a real black belt.
Right.
Otherwise, I failed him.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him a false hope. This is where that tournament comes in, and
Mhm.
that tournament comes in, and it gives you that chance. It's still a safe environment.
Right. There's rules.
There's rules, but you're fighting people you do not know.
Yeah.
So you're going to get the adrenaline, you're going to get the confidence of doing it. So I'm a big fan of sport jiu-jitsu, sport
Mhm.
karate, where you're in there, you could get hurt,
Mm-hmm.
but most times you don't get hurt.
Right.
But you're feeling that pressure
Yeah.
of sparring,
Yeah.
you know, people you don't know.
It's interesting to me that people who don't train in martial arts, like when I'll talk about, oh, I can, you know, we can do this, we can do an arm crank, we can do whatever. They're like, that's kind of mean. Like, isn't that mean? And
It's fun.
the accountability shift is what I say is, I step on the mat knowing the rest of my life and my threshold for injury and recovery to continue my life smoothly in a tournament.
Yeah.
It is my responsibility to say when I've hit that threshold and it's time to let go. That's a tap. I expect my opponent to come in with the same mindset, and I expect to be pushed. I expect to be tested. And it's the cultural, oh, don't be mean. No, it's not being
I'm not
mean.
being mean.
I'm being accountable, and I'm holding my competitor accountable too.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
I'm
it.
55.
Yeah.
I've been doing this 47 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've been doing this 47 years. I don't have any lifelong injuries from martial arts. Everything I have is having a badge on between
Yeah.
6, 7 knee surgeries.
Alan, where
My
would
bicep was torn from lifting weights. But I mean,
If
my
you
back,
didn't
my
train,
neck.
you would have been medically retired and dead.
Well, I was medically retired when I
But
broke my neck,
years before.
but before, yeah.
Yeah.
I think my health. I think the physicality of the martial arts, of the whole package of it, has made it so. I mean, I was telling you about. I had a guy. He couldn't get off the ground.
Yeah.
One of the guys, and a year later, he's on hikes with his families.
Yeah.
His family, his grandkids. He's out enjoying life again, and he jokes that I saved his life. I didn't save his life. I just showed him
You gave him the path.
it's consistency.
Mhm.
Yeah, and now he's still big, but you'd hate to meet him in a dark alley, you know, because he's a big man.
He's not
And
the
now
one you
he
want to
can-
put hands
Now
on.
he can throw down,
Yeah.
but his whole lifestyle change
Shifted.
has shifted to where he's realized that you don't have to. That's what being a black belt is you don't start as a black belt,
Yeah.
but you make it as a black belt finally through consistency. Consistency in training, fitness, whatever it takes to get that goal. He's got that in his mind now.
Yep.
At 64 years old, 65 years old. My buddy that I train with on Sundays once in a while, I just promoted him to his third.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when I get 64, I want to be fit like him.
Yeah.
He's just had both his hips replaced. And he's still out. Now he's kicking properly again.
That's
But for years, he couldn't kick properly.
But he still kept going. Can you,
Oh,
if
he's
if he'd have
ridiculous
lost,
fit.
Like, because I work with people recovering from orthopedic surgery.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in a fit person going in and coming out
Yep,
is
it's
so different.
dramatic.
So and aging. I talked with my friend Rena about this one because she's a CrossFit and Olympic lifting coach, and she works with a lot of senior citizens. And she said, we're talking life function, getting out of bed, getting off the couches. You know, aging is hard,
Oh,
and if you have no physicality going into it,
I want to be doing this in my 80s, 90s. My
Yeah.
family lives old.
yeah.
So I'm still going to be doing this. I'm going to be rolling with my grandkids.
One of my favorite moments, I was at IBJJF Worlds, and you know everybody gets really excited about
Yeah.
the black belt rounds and the da. Late in the afternoon, watching the old red belts come in. They're not the fast paced. They're not. But watching these guys, most of them are men, and there's such respect, and the egos aren't there. They're just not.
I don't know at what point
That I
the
saw.
egos no longer matter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to know when it happened to me because I wish I could have done it a long time ago.
You wish you could pinpoint it.
I wish I could have
teach
pinpointed it and I would have known it myself
Mm-hmm.
years ago.
Yeah.
I do. Because, like, for me, one of my pleasures is I have several black belts that have children.
Mm-hmm.
And I like them to start either in. I'm a big fan of grappling, so I either like them to be doing what I do, where it's hands and feet, or grappling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's such.
It's
a
not
great
just
way-
feet. It's not just hands. It's hands and feet,
Yeah.
or grappling. So you have the whole thing. And I love watching these kids go to their first Naga tournament. You know, and watch them out there as kids, getting the excitement
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, you've made a lifelong martial artist,
You have.
and that's the goal to me, is to make lifelong martial artists where they're loving it, they're sharing it, and they're doing it till their old age. I mean, will I ever compete in a tournament again? I'd love to say no, but I don't know if that ego again is going to stop me from,
Rearing your head.
poking my head out there again and going for it.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm in the seniors division, so
Right.
everybody now is at least
It's gonna take.
is at least
They're
my
wearing their experience.
yeah,
too.
they're experienced too. I mean, when you're a young guy, 18 years old, and you're a black belt first time, and you jump into that black belt market, everybody up to age 35,
Uh-huh.
you might get it handed to
Yeah.
you. you know.
Yeah.
But now I'm in the seniors division. Everybody's broken like me.
Yeah, they've got.
We're all broke. I'm not afraid to tap.
No, they've got life history.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not afraid to tap.
they've been through enough to know. I just want to walk away here.
Yeah, I'm here for fun.
I'm here to test myself, to get better, but at the end of the day, I'm here to walk away.
So I kept that one trophy. We donated a bunch. I used to keep them because I thought that was the thing, hanging them
Right.
up on my dojo, just having all these trophies.
Right.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
You know, if we can take the plates off and give them to other kids or whatever, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people who do the martial arts don't have a lot of money.
No,
They don't.
it's
So, and I think that's when it clicked for me.
yeah.
It was no longer just about me. It was about whatever. I keep that one because that was a learning experience.
Yeah.
That was 22 fights just to make it to grand champion. So
And the toll that
yeah.
that takes, the physicality that is.
Well, I actually, when I was fitter, I jumped down into the splits. Then I'd psych everybody out and look around, and I was like a midget compared to what was going on. And you know, I got to grand champion, and the big guy was just as physical as I was, except he's 6'3". He beat me.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Yeah.
You know, but
If he's
Yeah.
ranked the same, there's
Yep.
an expectation of
Yeah.
the same skill set.
I was there to win. So was
Yep.
he. One of us was able to win. You know,
Yep.
I won my division, but
Yeah.
you know, when you win your division, you get thrown in for grand champion. You might be fighting a giant. You might
Yeah.
be fighting
Yeah.
a smaller person. You know, and that smaller person might be lightning fast. Because, like you said, once you get there and because at black belt division, you know, when you're 18 and you jump
Yeah.
in, you don't realize you just started out as a white belt again in the black belt division.
Yeah.
Because you got guys who've been black belts 15, 20 years thumping on you.
Yeah.
When you're brand new black belt.
Because within the belt, they're not counting the stripes.
Nope, they aren't counting the
They're
stripes.
not counting the stripes.
So-
And those, you know.
But that's a great life lesson.
Yeah.
You know, that you're a continual learner.
You have to be. And Rena and I talked about this too, but so many, I mean, I was almost 200 pounds when I started training. And there were so many, hey, do this diet for 6 months and stay really, really strict, or da-da-da-da-da-da. And I would get frustrated, and I would get grouchy, and I wouldn't see results, and I wouldn't whatever. Or do this workout program until the event,
Right.
and then you're gonna go. Jiu-jitsu and martial arts very quickly cancel out the idea that I can put 6 months into this, accomplish a massive goal,
Yeah.
and then take a break and I'll be fine. Like that pursuit of growth, I think just the way that the progression is set up, you either have to decide to commit and understand that this will be part of your life forever.
Yeah, it's consistency.
And-
True health,
Yeah.
true knowledge is when you grow to love what you're doing with it, and you might not roll every day.
No.
Because you're busy. Most people are busy. They don't get the advantage that this, and you have children, you have other things. But you try to do it once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. It's the consistency of it. When you
Even
practice
I-
a drill, you
Even
don't
when
learn
I
it right
can't
away.
train, if I go watch,
Mm-hmm.
I learned so much.
I love
Watching.
walking around, going to other places, and you know, and I don't like to critique other things sometimes, but to me, it's always if you're going to teach it correctly.
Right.
Don't just because we have a misconception that practice makes perfect.
Imperfect practice does not
Perfect practice
makes perfect.
makes perfect
Yeah.
execution. So when you get exhausted and you start being sloppy, it's time to reassess and do something else.
I
Because perfect practice.
think
makes
it was a
perfect.
quote from Bruce Lee, I believe, but he said, "I do not fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time.
Right.
I fear the man who has practiced one
kick
10,000
times.
times. And my personal experience is that martial arts in general, obviously my thing is jujitsu, that's where I'm starting. It calls you to step into the lifetime journey.
Lifetime journey.
And that has transformed my life and in just diet, just that, of going, okay, I just want to be healthy, and what does healthy look like? And I know that I do want to compete again, but I know I don't want weight cuts to be an element of tournaments for me.
Right.
So how do I just stay on point daily? And it's transformed the way I eat, what I want to eat. Even when I'm being bad now,
Right.
people are like, I thought you were going to be bad. I'm like, I was. It's not that bad.
No.
And it didn't feel like being forced or driven to it. It felt like, I'm excited to do this.
So you remember when I worked with your ex, with Jed, I used to get teased that I was the fittest fat dude they knew. Okay? I used to get teased all the time at work by guys that were really fit. That, you know, they're always like, you're the fittest fat dude ever.
But if things went down, they always wanted you around.
Yeah, I could roll whatever they needed, but now I don't have to keep that body weight.
Right. You don't
And-
need that mass to protect
Or that
you
mass
in
to
the
protect
job.
myself. And I don't eat, diet is a big thing. I don't eat, if it's not food, if it doesn't look like the food it was, I don't eat it. So, and unfortunately, I'm not knocking fast food or whatever, but I don't eat fast food.
Yeah.
So very seldom will you see me eat fast food. I don't drink sodas anymore.
I find where it doesn't feel good. It doesn't taste
Yeah, it makes
good.
me sick.
Yeah.
I get that sugar dump. And it did for me. I mean, I saw a study that I had a little stint at the cancer clinic, and I found out that cancer follows sugar.
Huh.
Cancer loves sugar.
Then
Feeds
my
it.
morning coffee's in trouble.
So my morning coffee is with stevia or
Uh-huh.
something. But they're, everything has it. But
Yeah.
so, my wife really actually is the one that helped me figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not fair because I dropped a ton of weight and women, barely lost a pound.
It's so much more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think once you start having babies and whatnot, the guys want to say, "Oh no, it's just calories in, calories out." Whatever, dude. It was easy for me.
Yeah.
Once I decided I don't want to eat that way anymore. I don't want
Right.
to feel that way anymore.
Right.
And everybody had told me before, they're like, "Dude, as fit as you are, the minute you figure your diet," and it worked.
Yeah.
Once I figured my diet out,
Yeah.
I didn't change my workout routine.
But for me, figuring it out as far as how to be consistent, jiu-jitsu gives me that additional motivation to
Right.
remain consistent there.
Yep.
Because now it's fuel. How does it help me fulfill these purposes better?
So, I know several cops that were super fit and they were strict on their diet. But I'm telling you, most of us, we just ate whatever we could, when we could, what
Yep.
we could, just because 12-hour shift. By the time you're hungry,
Yeah.
and when you're eating sugar and other stuff or carbs, you're hungry again.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't ever fill you up.
Uh-uh.
Who'd have thought that eating fat's going to make me thin and my blood work fantastic?
Yeah, and make you feel full and
Mhm.
everything else. Let me ask you a question. So, we thank you first and foremost for your time and your expertise because we've covered.
I don't ever feel like an expert.
Okay, the
In
benefit
anything.
of your experience.
There we go.
There you go.
I do feel like I have a little bit of
You have
experience.
experience. Based on that experience, where do you suggest people who are going, where do I start? How do I start? Because I've known people who said, I have to get in shape before
No.
I can come train.
Never.
So where would you say, hey, here's how you start?
You got to find where you. So it's back to there's no such thing as the best style of martial arts. Not everyone can do jujitsu because not everybody's comfortable with it.
Right.
Not everybody can do punching and kicking because not everybody's comfortable with striking another person. So if I took my personal idea of where I think every girl needs to learn jujitsu out of it,
Mhm.
I would say go till you find a place that you feel like family.
Mhm.
Go to a place where you feel like family, where
Absolutely.
your success matters to the people around you as much as it does to you. And then
And
once
their
you
success
found,
matters to you
yes,
as
and
much.
once that you found that, that's, remember where I was telling you before that some guys teach things that I don't, I
Yeah.
look at it, I've done and when I look at something, I'm like, I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah.
You know, or I see somebody teach a choke, and I'm like, that's not a choke, dude.
Mhm.
And they're like, what do you mean? And I'll, you know, and they're like, oh, your neck. I'm like, do it.
Yeah.
And I'll roll, and I'll like, that's not a choke. You
Yeah.
don't have me trapped. You don't have 3
Yeah.
points. You know, that's not.
Mhm.
Well, I saw that on. Well, that was your first mistake, watching
Right.
it on YouTube and not actually going and seeing somebody. You know,
Really do the
really
fine
do the
details.
fine. Yes.
And see, feel, do. You gotta feel it.
See, so it's see, hear, do.
Uh-huh.
You have to. You have to hear it, see it, do it.
Mhm.
Then you get all 3 types of learning as you're going into it,
Mhm.
and you know you got to do it. So, what do I recommend people start? Find something that you love, where you feel welcomed, where you feel like it's the fit family for you,
Yeah.
and then train.
Yeah.
It might be Taekwondo, it might be Tang Sudo, it might be Shotokan, it might be Ishanru, it might be you know, Miyama-Ryu,
Yeah.
Japanese style. It might be Jiu-Jitsu, it might be Aikido, whatever. I don't care. Stick fighting, Kendo, whatever, you know. Whatever you find that is your comfortable, live the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Live the lifestyle and have it. And your stress levels are going to be so much better. Your family relationships are going to be better.
Mhm.
Your personal relationships with others are going to be better. The family that trains together stays together.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, my wife, she jokes that, you know, Kathy, she jokes she should be a 5th degree black belt already through osmosis, you know, through just osmosis, you know.
At least she should have at least one black belt from
Yeah, I
osmosis
know,
after
you
all
know, but
the
it's hard to
years.
train sometimes with your spouse. So
Yes.
I don't let them grapple together. I don't let them spar together.
Mhm.
I don't even let sisters or brothers hit each other. You know, when
Yeah.
you go home, hit each other.
Yeah.
But at the gym, you're training with someone else,
Yeah.
so it's not personal.
Right. You're
You
not
know,
bringing the grudges in.
You're not bringing the grudges in, but that's where that other community.
Mhm.
You know, what is that saying? You know, it's elephants. The whole herd raises the young.
It's true.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, I have my ideas of bad people, what we should do to them to be rid of them and just be done.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the karate world, most of us are good.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
we get past the egos and we're looking out for each other and we're training, that's what we need to do. Whether it's this style of BJJ or that style of BJJ or this or that, you know what? We can all go to a tournament, have fun,
Mhm.
party afterwards,
Yeah.
and it's amazing that you can thump each other
Yeah.
and be friends afterwards.
Yeah.
Right?
What's interesting to me, I would never roughhouse with my boys when they were little. And I told people specifically, I don't do that because I never want them to feel comfortable putting hands on a woman. So I won't roughhouse.
So I did the entire
So-
opposite of
So,
that.
but here's the interesting thing. I roll with a couple of young teenage boys,
Mhm.
and they're my buddies.
Yeah.
Like,
And they're trying to win.
and they are, but
You
they're
know?
also
Learning to
really
keep from hurting
helping
you.
me learn and learn jujitsu, but they're also helping me learn how to be playful
Yes.
with my own boys. And I could not have gotten that experience anywhere else but on those mats.
So my oldest son loves jujitsu.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the advantage is I hooked him up with other guys because, you know,
Yeah.
I can't train him all the time.
No.
And I can't roll anymore
Mhm.
because he's bigger than me.
Yeah.
He finds it harder to roll with girls than with the guys because he won't put his full weight
Mm-hmm.
on, because all he's thinking about is
You don't want to crush them.
I'm squishing my sister
Mhm.
or my friend or
Uh-huh.
my mom, you know, because we grew up, everybody
Yeah.
is rolling.
Yeah.
You know, it's everybody's rolling. So with me, my daughters, they fought boys, they fought girls. It was
Yeah.
that was my joy coming home.
A lot of the times I'm the only woman on the mat,
Mm-hmm.
but I appreciate so much that it's.
See, and that makes me sad. I think more women.
I want more women
I-
there, absolutely. But I appreciate the men who have made space for women in the sport
Mhm.
and who welcome those of us who show up
Yep.
and who encourage us. And that is very important to recognize too. Is we're showing up on their training mat too. We may not be the most competitive for them if that's what they need. And I appreciate them holding that space for me.
So, unfortunately, as humans, and I think women do this more than men do,
Mm-hmm.
we worry so much about our own self-image
Yes.
and personal that, remember that deal of I'll lose weight, then I'll start training.
Yep.
No, train. And when the weight falls off,
Get a smaller gi.
get a smaller gi. But train.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think that what I see with the kickboxing and the others is that sometimes they come and they're not in as good a well, none of us have been in great shape our entire lives. None of us.
No.
When you see that heavy person running down the street jogging, are you thinking, oh, look at that fat slob out there, running? Or are you
Or
thinking,
that super skinny person.
or are you thinking,
who's not
wow,
healthy.
look at that person's determination
Yeah.
out there putting an effort into it. That's what I see.
When I go to the gym and I see a really, really obese person struggling through,
You're thinking, wow, this guy is out here
Wow.
putting an effort into
what
it.
but what courage to come into an environment where
Mhm.
everybody's showing off their perfect bodies.
Mm-hmm.
What courage to come in here with imperfection
So as an older
and
guy,
keep showing up to get
I
there.
hate when young women, because I have young women,
Uh-huh.
wearing nothing, hopping around on my equipment,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I'm here to train,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm not wearing that.
Yeah.
And I mean, so
Not a
my girls,
distraction.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not here for a distraction.
But
But
I
I'm
think
older.
that-
I
but-
realize that I'm not here
but
to
I think that
pick
there's
up on people.
a mutual respect for that. You
But-
know, in Vegas, 120 degrees, like the sun are hot.
Yeah.
And the women, we were kind of the last to rolling in just our gis.
Mhm.
But last summer, after a certain, I was like, you know what?
So we don't roll in gis here.
Yeah,
And I gave up wearing gis.
Yeah.
Just personal
personal choice.
choice training. I still roll with a gi,
Mhm.
but I used to cheat. I'm not saying I was a cheater, but I would fold my sleeve and then have my mother-in-law triple stitch it so I could tie in, so guys couldn't break my grip
Yeah,
and stuff, And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm at work. I'm not wearing a gi,
yeah,
and my girls aren't gonna be wearing a gi. So I did both.
yeah.
But for instance, like I like to keep it modest. I had if you're watching this, yeah, I still don't like you.
I don't know who you are.
I had a lady who I had taught all of her kids, and she had a teenage girl, and you know how the gis, she'd wear a bra, just her bra underneath,
Uh-huh.
nothing, no shirt, no nothing. Well, what happens when you're grappling and rolling around? Your gis are always,
Yeah, you
you
get
know, and
grabbed.
your boob hangs out or whatever. Well, I got
Uh-huh.
teenage boys
Yeah,
in this class and others. You're
Yeah.
creating distraction. So I
Yeah.
made a rule: everybody wears a T-shirt
right,
under it,
right.
right? Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was a big deal.
Mm.
Didn't like that idea. So she gave up the bra and went with a nightgown, nightie, lacy. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So I asked her to not come back,
Yeah. I
which
think-
made me
yeah,
sad because
yeah.
her daughter and her son, they were
Yeah.
good students.
Yeah.
But I had to ask her, you're creating a distraction. She couldn't see past it.
Mhm.
So it's like my women's class, the kickboxing. I like spandex.
Yeah.
Don't come in shorts
Yeah.
because we're rolling around. Don't come in shorts.
I personally
wear
don't want
spandex.
shorts for mat burn purposes
Right,
either.
right.
You know, and I think
Because nothing sucks like your knees being dragged
No.
around or whatever, or you end up
No.
like mine
Yeah.
and hurt, right?
And I think that there's like I will roll with a sports bra and gi, and that's
Yep.
it in the heat.
In the heat.
And most of the men that I roll with, it's about half and half. Some will wear undershirts and some don't.
Right.
And that's where I felt, okay, it's comfortable. Like this is.
You're in an adult class.
And it's an adult class, and there's an understanding there.
Right.
And there's a maturity level there.
Right.
And I think, though, it's very important to recognize that can be a distraction.
But
and
see,
it
you're wearing
is.
a sports
Yeah.
setup, right?
Yeah.
Compression sports.
Yeah.
Nothing's falling out.
No.
Nothing's being. You're not rolling with the.
No.
Right.
No.
So you've taken it upon yourself to be modest at some point.
Yeah.
She was creating an issue, and it was like
That's not okay.
It was not okay, and it was really weird to me because normally, your dudes are the ones that cause problems. I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting a mom with 2 kids in the class
Yeah.
to be causing this issue.
I think though.
And she didn't like me, and she didn't write very good reviews.
Right. Well, I think that for anyone getting into it, because you kind of do.
You can edit that out.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know, but you get the beauty contest gyms. You know
Yeah,
what
I don't
mean?
want that.
I don't see it as much in MMA gyms as they do in weightlifting gyms.
Where you see here, this is grunge.
Yeah.
People come here to work out.
Yeah.
People come
Yeah.
here with me to work out. I'm
Come
not.
work.
I've been asked to teach at
Mhm.
the fitness gym,
Mhm.
the weightlifting gym, and I'm not doing that again.
Mm-mm.
I'm not. I've done it
Yeah.
before. I'm not doing that again.
Mhm.
You know.
To me, the respect. If I felt or believed that sexuality was becoming a distracting issue on the mat, I would take it upon myself to shift that dynamic.
Right. And
And
that's
part of being a responsible
martial
training
artist,
partner.
training partner. So that's where that was going with that, is that when you have a diverse, we're here to train.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're here to train and make friends.
Yeah.
If something like I've had students, a young man and young woman, they're married.
Yeah.
They've been married almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
You know what? They got 3 little kids. They're married. Hey, that's great. They're both black belts, but they started out as teenagers,
Yeah.
training together. You know what? You meet friends, you meet life partners. That's cool, but
If
you don't
that's
need
the
that-
objective,
that's
there's
see,
the
but
there's
if that's
the
the
distraction.
objective, there's the distraction.
Yep.
If this happens over time because this is your training partner, your
Yeah.
friend, your whatever, yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah.
But
I
I
love
had
it.
one that
Couldn't get that.
she just couldn't get that.
I think it's and being single, newly single again, I understand that. Like you want to feel
Yes.
attractive, but for me, it's time and place.
It's
And
time and
I
place.
am not. You said earlier that you have a friend that his Sabbath is rolling from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
The mats have become sacred to me.
Yeah.
As far as they're a safe place for me. I don't want to screw that up
No.
in any way. And
as
don't,
men, we should respect that.
Yeah.
We should also.
and I don't want to create an issue that could shift the dynamic for the whole team.
Right.
Because unfortunately, that's what happens.
I watched one of your videos. It was a big guy you were interviewing, and I loved it. I forget his name now.
It's probably Lance.
I don't
Was
know.
he wearing gi pants? Were we wearing gi pants?
He had a compression shirt on,
Lance.
and great big guy though.
Mm-hmm.
I loved his explanations of we're here to train with each other,
Yeah.
and he's not out crushing women because he's called a hippo.
Yeah.
Everybody calls him
Yeah.
a hippo.
And he is big.
He's a big guy.
He's a very
Yeah.
big guy.
He's not there to hurt people.
He's a
there to
sweetheart.
train. And
He's the father of girls.
yep.
He
So he gets it.
and he adores his girls, and he has a little boy, but his girls came first, and he gets it, and he's a very supportive and encouraging martial artist. We actually do not train at the same gym. Regularly.
Well, I got hundreds of buddies. We don't
Yeah.
train at the same
Yeah. But I love that about the community
gyms. Mm-hmm.
is
And we share
respect.
knowledge.
Yeah.
It's respect.
Yeah.
And we're there to have fun and
Yeah.
train. You beat me.
Yeah.
I might beat you next time.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
good.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Well, I'm glad I got to be the first person you knew that
You were.
trained
You were.
just for training's sakes.
You asked us to come so many times, and I thought of it as something for kids, to put my kids in, to help them develop as children.
Yeah.
And
And good on those instructors that love teaching kids.
I'm thankful for them. I'm
I am
thankful
too.
for 'em.
And when you get a good one, let me know and I'll send people to him.
But at the same time, I think that that's unfortunately created this idea in adults. It did for me.
I love training adults.
But for me, it was like, well, I didn't do it as a kid, so, or I did do karate as a kid,
Hmm.
so I got it. You know, that phase of my life is done, and it's not.
It's not.
I
It's
love that it's never
lifetime.
done. Yeah.
It's fun. It's a community. It's, you know, I got guys that I wanted to take you to, but they're doing other things to meet. Because I'm not saying they're the best in the area or
But-
anything like that.
Mhm.
But if I couldn't train my kids, these are the people I'm sending
Right.
them to.
Right.
Because I go watch them, I know what they're doing. You know, two of them, well, the one that hasn't got me back, I mean, man, he's the real deal in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
The other one is, I don't remember what Jiu-Jitsu he is, you know, and he's also a Gracie black belt also. And you know what? They roll together once a week, they're good.
Mhm.
Different styles, different whatever, doesn't matter. We're still,
Growing.
you know, what is it? So like I was showing face cranks the other day, and others are like, "Oh, well, we don't do those." Well, you know what? They still work.
Yeah.
You know,
They're still effective.
they're still effective. And you're calling it an arm bar, and he's calling it an arm lock. Or, isn't it the same thing? Oh, you can't say that. Whatever.
There's been times
Have
I've
fun.
said, what rank do I have to be allowed to do that? And
To attack legs.
Yeah,
You gotta be at least
yeah,
a blue belt
yeah,
before I
yeah.
can attack legs.
and
That-
and Fredson goes, am I teaching you just for competition or am I teaching you for life?
For life. Yep.
And he said, when you go to compete, read the rules of the competition,
Yep.
decide to follow
And
them.
keep your wits about you.
Yep.
Mhm.
But otherwise, did you come to train or not?
Because I'm going to teach you everything I got.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Turn this off real quick.
Yep. Oh, roll around.